Senior Health Alert. If you're over 60, there's one overlooked habit that could quietly raise your risk of a stroke while you sleep. No pain, no warning. One moment you're reading to your grandchild, the next your speech slurs. Your arm won't move, or your balance suddenly vanishes. As a brain doctor, I've seen this exact moment far too often. Sometimes in people who thought they were living healthy. They didn't smoke, they exercised, they ate well. What they did do was take vitamins. Yes, vitamins every day, millions. Of seniors take over-the-counter supplements hoping to stay sharp, protect their heart, or boost their energy. While some are helpful, others, especially when taken in high doses or at the wrong time, can quietly raise the risk of stroke, brain bleeds, or dangerous blood pressure spikes. And it often happens during the most vulnerable hours of the night. Today, I'll walk you through 9 common vitamins that may harm your brain without you realizing it, and exactly what you should do instead. But first, ask yourself, could my vitamins be doing more harm than good? If you've ever wondered, you're not alone, and what you learn here could save your life. Vitamin D, the bone protector. That can backfire, vitamin D is often praised as a must for strong bones, especially after 60. Doctors, ads, and wellness blogs all call it essential. And in the right amount, it is. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium and maintain bone strength. But here's the hidden danger. Too much vitamin D can harden your arteries and trigger a stroke while you sleep. Let me share the story of Walter, a 74-year-old Navy veteran. He exercised daily, cooked healthy meals, and took his supplements like clockwork. For over a year, he swallowed 10,000 IU of vitamin D every morning, far above the safe daily limit of 600 to 800 IU for most seniors. Then one morning, his wife found him slumped on the couch, unable to move his right arm. He had suffered a major stroke. Tests showed extremely high calcium in his blood and brittle, stiff arteries. The cause? Vitamin D toxicity. Here's why. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium. Too much vitamin D means too much calcium floating in your bloodstream. That excess calcium doesn't just go to your bones. It gets deposited into your arteries, making them rigid and fragile. Over time, this creates the perfect storm. Stiff arteries, blood pressure spikes at night, and suddenly, a stroke. The biggest mistake? Taking large doses every single day, especially at night, when your body regulates calcium poorly. Unlike vitamin C, vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning it builds up in your system and doesn't flush out easily. What to do instead? Never take more than your doctor prescribes. For most older adults, 600-800 IU per day is enough, unless a blood test confirms deficiency. Always take vitamin D in the morning, not before bed. Walter survived, but now lives with a limp and can't drive. His words still stay with me. I thought I was protecting myself. I didn't know I was setting a trap inside my own body. Vitamin E, the heart helper that can trigger a brain. Bleed, vitamin E, has long been marketed as a natural antioxidant that protects the heart, improves circulation, boosts memory, and even keeps skin youthful. For many seniors, it sounds like a safe, smart choice. But here's the truth most people don't know. High doses of vitamin E can thin your blood so much that it triggers bleeding inside your brain. Continued in the next section. Vitamin E, the heart helper that can trigger a brain bleed. We've been told for decades that vitamin E is a natural protector of the heart. Advertisements and supplement labels call it an antioxidant that supports circulation, memory, and even healthy skin. For many older adults, it feels like a safe choice. But what most people don't know is this. Too much vitamin E can thin your blood so much that it causes bleeding inside your brain. Let me share Evelyn's story. Evelyn Brooks was an 81-year-old retired librarian from Ohio. Sharp, witty, and devoted to her crossword puzzles, she lived a gentle routine: tea by the window each afternoon and a natural vitamin E capsule. 800 IU daily. She believed it would protect her heart. What she didn't realize was that she was stepping into a medical trap. Evelyn already had a heart valve condition and was prescribed warfarin, a blood thinner. Her doctor monitored her carefully, and her lab results had always been stable. But when she quietly added high-dose vitamin E on her own, everything changed. One evening, Evelyn developed a crushing headache, grew confused, slurred her words, and began vomiting. At the ER, a brain scan revealed a hemorrhagic stroke, bleeding, inside her brain. The cause wasn't high blood pressure or a fall. It was the combination of warfarin and excessive vitamin E, which together made her blood too thin to clot. Here's the truth. Vitamin E, in large doses, acts as a natural anticoagulant, blood thinner. When combined with prescribed blood thinners, like warfarin, Plavix, or even daily aspirin, the effect becomes dangerous. Just one fragile vessel in the brain is enough to burst, leading to a severe, often irreversible stroke. Most seniors don't realize the risk. The daily recommended amount of vitamin E for older adults is 15 milligrams, about 22 IU. Yet most supplement bottles contain 200, 400, even 1,000 IU per capsule, with no clear warning labels. Evelyn took 800 IU because the bottle said natural and heart healthy. She survived, but the damage was permanent. Her short-term memory never fully recovered, and she now needs a cane to walk. Tearfully, she once told me, "I just wanted to take care of my heart. I didn't know I was making my brain bleed." What you should do instead. If you take blood thinners or even a daily aspirin, do not add vitamin E without your doctor's approval. Stick to food sources, nuts, seeds, spinach, rather than high-dose supplements. Remember, bleeding. Strokes are often more deadly and less reversible than clot-related ones. Vitamin B6, the nerve support that can quietly damage your nerves. Many seniors experience tingling hands, numb feet, or poor balance and assume it's just aging. So when they see vitamin B6 marketed as nerve support, energy booster, or memory enhancer, it feels like a smart solution. But here's what most people don't know. Too much B6 can actually damage your nerves permanently. Take Harold Jenkins, a 76-year-old retired truck driver from Kansas. After decades on the road, Harold wanted to live healthier, eat better, move more, and sharpen his focus. A neighbor recommended a supplement called Neuromax Nerve Defense. It promised brain health and nerve strength. Each tablet contained 100 mg of vitamin B6. Harold took 2 every day for over a year. Then the symptoms began. Falls he couldn't explain. Numb fingers that made it hard to hold a coffee mug. Tingling legs that felt like they weren't getting the signal. He thought it was arthritis or just aging, until one slip in the bathroom sent him to the hospital. His blood pressure was fine. His heart was fine. But his supplement list told the story. He was taking 200 mg of B6 daily, more than 10 times the safe upper limit of 20 mg per day for older adults. Here's the frightening part. Excess B6 doesn't just flush out like many believe. It builds up in the body, damaging the protective insulation, myelin sheath, around your nerves. This leads to peripheral neuropathy, like stripping the rubber coating off a wire. The signals weaken, misfire, or stop altogether. By the time Harold came to me, the damage was done. We stopped the supplement immediately, and while the progression slowed, the weakness, falls, and numbness never fully went away. What you should do instead: never exceed 20 mg of vitamin B6 unless prescribed and monitored. Get B6 naturally, from foods like chicken, bananas, and whole grains. If you already have tingling, numbness, or balance issues, check your supplements right away. 4. Vitamin A, the eye supplement that can quietly build pressure. Inside your brain, if you're over 60, chances are someone has told you to take vitamin A to protect your eyes, boost immunity, or age gracefully. The bottles line pharmacy shelves with names like Vision Support, Eye Defense, Immune Shield. It sounds harmless, just one capsule to protect your health. But here's the truth. Too much vitamin A doesn't just affect your eyes. It can raise pressure inside your skull, mimic a brain tumor, and, in severe cases, permanently damage your brain and vision. Let me share Dorothy's story. Dorothy Simmons, a 79-year-old retired piano teacher from Oregon, was the picture of graceful aging. She still taught children at her home, played Beethoven from memory, and lived independently. Wanting to preserve her vision and skin, she began taking a supplement. Advertised on TV, 10,000 IU of vitamin A daily. She continued this routine for nearly 5 years. Then the symptoms crept in. Persistent headaches, blurry vision that made reading sheet music difficult, dizziness that she brushed off as just getting older. One afternoon, she slurred her words while speaking with her daughter. Fearing a stroke, her family rushed her to the hospital, but her scans showed no clot, no bleeding. Instead, she had elevated intracranial pressure, a dangerous buildup of fluid around her brain and optic nerves. The cause? Vitamin A toxicity. Here's why this happens. Vitamin A is fat-soluble. Unlike vitamin C or B vitamins, it doesn't flush out easily. It builds up in the liver and fat tissues over time, especially in older adults whose livers process nutrients more slowly. The official safe upper limit for seniors is 2,500–3,002 IU daily, including what you get from food and multivitamins. Dorothy was taking over 3 times that amount every single day. The result is a condition called pseudotumor cerebri, or false brain tumor. Symptoms include severe, unrelenting headaches, double vision, nausea, and dizziness. Stroke-like speech or balance problems. If untreated, the pressure can permanently damage the optic nerve, leading to irreversible vision loss. Dorothy was fortunate. We caught it early, stopped the supplement, and treated the pressure. She regained some stability, but never fully returned to her old self. Tearfully, she told me, "I thought I was doing something good for my body. I never imagined I could be hurting my brain." And she's not alone. Thousands of older adults unknowingly overdose on vitamin A through anti-aging and eye support products. They're not being careless. They're acting with good intentions but without the right information. What you should do instead: check every label for vitamin A content, especially eye, skin, and multivitamin products. Avoid supplements that exceed 2,500 to 3,000 IU daily. Remember, vitamin A accumulates slowly. Damage may not appear for months or years until the symptoms suddenly strike. It's a chilling reality. The same vitamin meant to protect your vision could, if misused, end up stealing it. Niacin, vitamin B3, the heart-healthy. Vitamin that can spike your blood pressure. Niacin, or vitamin B3, is often promoted as a natural way to lower cholesterol and support heart health. Doctors once prescribed it widely for this purpose. Many over-the-counter bottles still boast claims like supports circulation or cholesterol defense. But here's what most seniors are never told. In high doses, niacin doesn't protect your heart. It can actually trigger dangerous spikes in blood pressure, flushing, dizziness, and even mini-strokes. Niacin, vitamin B3, the heart-healthy. Vitamin that can secretly spike your blood pressure. For many older adults, cholesterol management is a lifelong concern. We've all heard the warnings about heart disease, clogged arteries, and LDL cholesterol. So when a vitamin comes along that's marketed as natural, doctor recommended, and cholesterol supporting, it feels safe. After all, it's just a vitamin. What harm could it do? But here's the truth. In high doses, niacin, vitamin B3, can silently spike your blood pressure, disrupt your heart rhythm, and even trigger a mini-stroke before breakfast. Frank Miller, an 82-year-old retired postman from Florida, learned this the hard way. Proud of his years of service, he still wore his old postal jacket on cool mornings. Frank wanted to stay active and independent, but he also wanted to avoid prescription, statins. So, when he found an online supplement claiming to support cholesterol, energy, and circulation, with 1,000 boliguars of niacin per capsule, he thought it was the perfect solution. He took 2 a day for nearly a year. At first, he brushed off the side effects. Flushed cheeks, a burning sensation in his ears. He jokingly called it his niacin glow. But then things worsened. He began waking up with a pounding heartbeat, feeling lightheaded when standing, and even nearly fainted on his porch. One morning, while reading the paper, his speech slurred. It passed in under 2 minutes, but when it happened again, this time with numbness in his hand, his wife insisted he go to the hospital. Doctors discovered he'd had a transient ischemic attack, TIA, a mini-stroke. His arteries weren't badly blocked, but his blood pressure had been surging unpredictably, especially in the mornings. The culprit? 2,000 milligauss of niacin daily, more than 60 times what most seniors actually need. Here's why niacin can be so dangerous. At high doses, niacin causes your blood vessels to rapidly dilate. That's the flushing you feel. Soon after, they rebound and constrict, creating wild swings in blood pressure. This yo-yo effect puts enormous stress on the cardiovascular system and reduces blood flow to the brain. Extended-release and flush-free niacin products aren't always safer. Some forms have been linked to liver damage while others don't. Help cholesterol at all but still interact dangerously with medications. Frank told me something I'll never forget. "Doc, I thought I was avoiding the side effects of statins. I didn't realize I was rolling the dice with my brain." He's doing better now, off niacin and with more stable blood pressure, but he walks slower and more cautiously. That's the price of a decision made in good faith, but based on incomplete information. What you should do instead: if your supplement lists niacin, B3, check the label carefully. Anything over 50 milligauss per serving should only be taken with a doctor's supervision. Remember, over-the-counter doesn't always mean safe, especially after age 60.6. Vitamin K, the invisible interferer. That can cancel out your blood thinners. When we think of vitamins, most of us picture something safe and harmless. Vitamin K rarely makes headlines. It isn't flashy. It's not in energy drinks or anti-aging pills. You'll find it quietly listed in multivitamins, or naturally in leafy greens like spinach and kale. But here's what most people don't realize. If you're over 60 and taking blood thinners such as warfarin, Coumadin, or even daily aspirin, vitamin K could silently cancel out your medication and put you at serious risk of stroke. Eleanor James, an 84-year-old retired music teacher from Vermont, is a perfect example. She lived a quiet life. Morning walks, tea at 2 p.m., crossword, puzzles. She had atrial fibrillation, a heart rhythm issue, so her doctor prescribed warfarin to prevent clots. Her INR levels, a blood test that measures how quickly blood clots, were always stable, until suddenly they weren't. Eleanor came in after, experiencing a mini-stroke. For about 30 minutes, she slurred her speech, struggled to find words, and battled a pounding headache. Tests showed her INR was dangerously low. Her blood was clotting too quickly, the exact opposite of what we wanted. At first, it didn't make sense. She hadn't missed a dose of warfarin. Then we reviewed her supplements and diet. A few months earlier, she had switched to a new multivitamin marketed as Complete Nutrition for Women Over 80. It contained high levels of vitamin K, completely, undoing the effect of her blood thinner. That's the danger. Vitamin K helps blood clot. Normally, that's a good thing. But for someone on anticoagulants, extra vitamin K cancels out their protection, silently raising the risk of a clot or stroke. What you should do instead: if you're on warfarin, Coumadin, or daily aspirin, never add a multivitamin or supplement with vitamin K without checking with your doctor. Be consistent with your diet. Don't suddenly increase or decrease leafy greens. Your medication dose is balanced against your usual intake. Ask your doctor to monitor your INR closely if you start or stop any supplement. 6. Vitamin K, the invisible enemy that can silently destroy anticoagulants. Vitamin K is often overlooked. It's not the power vitamin, nor the secret to eternal youth. But for older adults who take blood thinners like warfarin, Coumadin, or even aspirin every day, vitamin K can be a silent threat. Eleanor James, 84, was a former music teacher. She lived a very regular life. Morning walks, 2 p.m. tea, crossword puzzles in the evenings. She had atrial fibrillation, so her doctor prescribed warfarin to prevent blood clots. Her INR tests, a measure of how thin her blood is, were stable, until one day everything changed. Eleanor suffered a transient ischemic attack, slurred speech, severe headaches, difficulty finding words. Tests showed that her blood was clotting faster than usual, meaning that the warfarin was almost ineffective. The reason? She had started taking a new multivitamin containing 120 mg of vitamin K. Not much, but enough to negate the drug's effectiveness. She had also been eating a lot of kale and spinach after reading an article about superfoods for aging, a seemingly healthy change, but one that had actually put her at risk of a stroke. That's the paradox of vitamin K. Your body needs it to clot your blood when you're injured. But if you're on blood thinners, the vitamin is quietly pulling against you, like a tug-of-war in your blood vessels. One side trying to prevent clotting, the other side trying to promote clotting. And your brain is the one that gets hit. The most dangerous thing is that you don't feel anything. No pain, no dizziness, no warning, until the stroke happens. In fact, people taking warfarin don't need to completely avoid vitamin K. That's a misconception. The point is to keep it stable. A sudden change, whether it's taking a multivitamin or switching to a diet rich in leafy greens, can cause dangerous fluctuations in the INR. Eleanor was lucky that her stroke was transient, and her doctor was able to adjust her medication. But not everyone gets a second chance. Practical advice: always check supplement labels. If you see vitamin K1 or phylloquinone, tell your doctor. Keep the amount of green leafy vegetables stable, not sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. If you change your diet or take new supplements, get your INR tested so your doctor can make timely adjustments. Folic acid, vitamin B9, vitamin Tri and Ho. Keo, the Chejiao Su Suithoi, no bo. One of the biggest concerns of old age is memory loss, forgetting the names of loved ones, confusing familiar places, or repeating old stories. It is no wonder that brain supplements are selling well, and the most familiar ingredient in them is Axe. It is praised for its ability to enhance memory, create energy, and even reduce the risk of stroke. But few people know that. Taking too much folic acid. Carol Whitaker, 70, was a court clerk. She was smart, witty, and always carried a book. But within a year, her family noticed changes in her. She repeated stories, forgot appointments, and slurred her speech. Fearing Alzheimer's, she turned to a memory-enhancing supplement, the main ingredient, 800 mcg of folic acid per pill. When she arrived, Carol had mixed up her grandchild's name, was unsteady on her feet, and was mentally depressed. Tests showed that this is the point. Folic acid ve B12 kung tham gia san shuat hong sao ve bao ve than kin. But tu, mao trong van on, nung no ve than kin thi jang ton thuong tung ngai. The elderly are even more susceptible to B12 deficiency, because absorption capacity is reduced, especially if they are taking tamarind, thuok da dai, PPI. Often, in Carol's case, the high levels of folic acid caused blood tests to appear normal, masking signs of B12 deficiency. Meanwhile, symptoms such as confusion, unsteadiness, and memory loss were mistaken for Alzheimer's. We immediately stopped folic acid, supplemented with high doses of B12, and rehabilitated her cognitive function. She gradually improved, but it took a long time. The doctor said bluntly, "If we had waited a few more months, her neurological damage could have been permanent." Carol burst into tears. "I thought I was helping my brain get better." Practical advice. If you are over 60 and take folic acid supplements, have a regular B12 test. Don't stop at basic blood tests. Ask your doctor about more advanced markers like MMA, methylmalonic acid, or homocysteine. Don't increase your folic acid dose just because you're worried about your memory. Often the problem is a B12 deficiency, not a B9 deficiency. And here's something most people don't realize. It's not just about checking your B12 levels once in a while. You need the right tests, the ones that reveal how your cells are actually functioning, and unless your doctor has specifically advised you to take folic acid, it's best to be cautious. In the U.S., most breads, cereals, and processed foods are already fortified with folic acid. So many people are getting more than they think. And here's the critical point. Memory problems don't always mean dementia. Sometimes they're a sign of something correctable, if you catch it early. But while folic acid can cause a slow, silent decline, there's another vitamin that can strike hard and fast, like a hammer. One moment you feel fine, and the next you're facing kidney pain or dangerous swings in blood pressure. I'm talking about vitamin C, especially the high-dose powders and fizzy immune packets so many people rely on for protection. Vitamin C, the immune booster that can quietly damage your kidneys and spike your blood pressure for decades. Vitamin C has been promoted as the ultimate immune defense. Take extra when you feel a cold coming on, they say. Double up during flu season. And millions do, in the form of chewables, tablets, or those big fizzy packs you dissolve in water. It feels safe. After all, it's just vitamin C, right? But here's the truth. Especially after age 60, more is not better. In fact, high daily doses can be harmful. Excess vitamin C has been linked to kidney stones, kidney damage, blood pressure swings, and vascular inflammation, all of which raise the risk of heart attack or stroke. I'll never forget one patient, Alan Dawson, a 79-year-old retired firefighter from Montana. Alan came to me with severe back pain, fatigue, and frequent urination. Tough as nails, he almost never went to the doctor. But this time, he knew something was wrong. For over a year, Alan had been drinking one, sometimes 2 fizzy immune packets every day. Each one contained 1,000 becquerel of vitamin C. He thought he was being smart, strengthening his immune system. What he didn't realize is that in the body, excess vitamin C turns into oxalate, which can form sharp crystals inside the kidneys. These crystals cause kidney stones, and with enough buildup, even permanent kidney damage. His labs confirmed the problem. His kidney function was already impaired, and imaging showed oxalate deposits. His blood pressure was unstable too, spiking high in the mornings, then dipping too low later in the day. The culprit, vitamin C overload. Here's the shocker. Older adults only need 75 to 90 milliliters of vitamin C per day. That's it. And yet, most over-the-counter immune boosters pack 10 to 20 times that amount into a single serving. While it's true that vitamin C is water-soluble and excess is excreted in urine, the kidneys of older adults can't always keep up. Over time, the overload takes its toll, and that's not the only risk. High vitamin C also increases iron absorption. In seniors, especially men and postmenopausal women, this can cause iron overload, damaging the heart, liver, and even the brain. Alan's recovery was long. He had to stop all supplements, shift to a kidney-friendly diet, and work with a nephrologist to protect what kidney function remained. The pain eased, but the experience left him shaken. I still remember his words. "Doc, I thought I was protecting myself. I didn't know I was breaking myself down from the inside. And that's the danger with vitamin C. It feels safe, even, protective, but in high doses it can quietly stress your kidneys, blood vessels, and heart until something breaks. The early signs, fatigue, mild pain, blood pressure swings, are easy to ignore. But by the time you feel the damage, it may already be serious. That's why I recommend sticking to food-based sources. Oranges, strawberries, bell peppers, leafy greens. They provide what your body needs. No more, no less. Unless your doctor tells you otherwise, skip the high-dose powders and immune megapacks. Your body doesn't need them, and they may be doing more harm than good, but the risks don't stop here. There's another supplement, one many seniors take for relaxation, stress relief, and better sleep. It's marketed as natural and harmless, but in high doses it can drop your blood pressure so low that you risk dizziness, fainting, or a fall that changes your life forever. Magnesium. Magnesium, the relaxation mineral that can quietly cause dangerous drops in blood pressure as we age, sleep gets lighter, stress feels heavier, and our muscles seem tighter. That's why so many older adults turn to magnesium, the so-called relaxation mineral. It's everywhere, in nighttime teas, sleep aids, laxatives, muscle cramp remedies, and dozens of calming supplements. But here's the hidden danger. Too much magnesium can lower blood pressure dramatically. For some, it causes sudden dizziness or fainting. For others, it can trigger confusion, heart rhythm changes, or dangerous falls. What starts as an attempt to sleep better can end in an ER visit. Let me tell you about someone who learned this lesson the hard way. Richard Langston was 85 when he came to my clinic after a fall in his bathroom. A proud Korean War veteran and retired mechanic from Indiana, Richard had always been independent and sharp. He lived alone, managed his mild hypertension with medication, and prided himself on staying active. But one cold winter morning, he stood up from the toilet and collapsed, hitting his head on the sink. Hours later, his neighbor found him groggy, confused, with a dark bruise above his eye. At the ER, tests ruled out stroke and heart attack, but his blood pressure had dropped to 85/50, dangerously low. When we reviewed his medications and supplements, the culprit became clear. Richard had recently added a magnesium sleep powder to his nightly routine. Each scoop contained 400 milliliters of magnesium citrate, and he was taking 1.5 scoops every night. He thought it was natural, safe, even good for his heart and muscles. What Richard didn't realize, and what many seniors don't, is that while magnesium is essential for muscle and nerve function, taking too much, especially when combined with blood pressure medications, diuretics, or heart drugs, can cause blood vessels to relax too much. That means a sudden, unsafe drop in blood pressure. The results? Lightheadedness when standing, dizziness, blurred vision, and, in severe cases, fainting or collapse. For older adults, one fall can mean broken bones, brain bleeds, loss of independence, or worse. Here's the reality. The recommended daily intake of magnesium is about 320 mg for women and 420 for men, including what you already get from food. Yet many over-the-counter calming, sleep, or muscle relief powders deliver 400, 500, even 600 mg per serving. Add medication or mild dehydration, and the body's response becomes unpredictable. Richard's fall wasn't due to frailty or even a failure of his prescribed medications. It was a classic case of a well-meaning supplement quietly disrupting his body's balance. The scariest part: he never felt any warning. No dizziness, no fluttering heart, just sudden darkness and the sound of the sink shattering as he went down. Thankfully, he recovered. But afterward, he told me something I'll never forget. "Doc, I just wanted to sleep better. I didn't know I was knocking myself down." And that's the truth. Just because something is labeled natural doesn't mean it's harmless. If you take magnesium, know your dose. Read your labels. Talk with your doctor, especially if you're also on medications for blood pressure, heart rhythm, or anxiety. And avoid high-dose magnesium at night without medical supervision. That's when your body is most vulnerable to dangerous drops in blood pressure. And now, stepping back, after hearing how 9 common vitamins, all marketed as safe or essential, can actually backfire in older adults, it raises the bigger question: what should seniors do instead? If so many pills and powders carry hidden risks, how can you truly protect your brain, your heart, and your independence safely? The answer may surprise you. D. What seniors should do instead. After hearing these stories, many of my patients ask the same thing. Then what can I safely do to protect my health? It's a good question, and an important one. Here's the truth. After 60, your body doesn't need more pills. It needs more wisdom, more balance, more rhythm. Not megadoses, not chemical shortcuts. What it truly thrives on is what it was designed for: whole foods, rest, hydration, and gentle movement. I'll never forget Margaret Wilson, a 73-year-old retired school principal from Arizona. She walked into my office with a Ziploc bag full of pills. Vitamins for her bones, her memory, her skin, her heart. A multivitamin, sleep aids, blood pressure support, energy boosters, eye health formulas. She looked at me and said, "Doc, I'm doing everything right, but I still feel tired, foggy, and unsteady. What am I missing?" I looked her in the eye and said something she didn't expect. "You're not missing anything. You're taking too much." Over the next 3 months, we started what I call a health decluttering. We eliminated everything that wasn't essential. We simplified her routine. And, most importantly, we rebuilt her day around food, hydration, consistent sleep, and gentle movement. Her breakfast became simple but powerful. 1 hard-boiled egg, half an avocado, a slice of whole-grain toast, a handful of blueberries, and a glass of room-temperature water. Her lunch was a leafy green salad with walnuts and grilled salmon. She walked after dinner every evening, even if just around the block. She met. 6 weeks later, Margaret told me, "I feel like myself again. Not younger, just clearer." Here's the part most doctors never tell you. The aging body doesn't need extremes. It needs consistency. Your brain doesn't need mega doses of vitamins. It needs steady fuel, oxygen-rich blood flow, and low inflammation. And those come from real foods your grandmother would recognize: spinach, berries, wild-caught fish, beans, nuts, whole grains. Hydration is another overlooked key. Most older adults live in a mild state of dehydration without realizing it. Just 6 to 8 glasses of water a day can improve clarity of thought, joint health, and blood pressure stability. And movement? It doesn't have to be intense. You don't need to run marathons. You need to move a little every day. Walk your dog, tend your garden, do chair stretches. The goal isn't youth, it's vitality. And that comes from momentum, not magic. The bottom line, protecting your brain and body as you age isn't about stockpiling pills. It's about removing the clutter and giving your body what it truly asks for: rhythm, balance, nourishment, hydration, movement, and rest. Supplements can absolutely play a role in health, but only when they're truly needed and guided by a doctor. The right ones at the right time, in the right dose. For example, vitamin B12, if blood tests show you're low, vitamin D3 if you're not getting enough sunlight, or omega-3s if your heart needs extra support. These are meant to be tools, not daily habits born out of fear. Here's the truth. More is not always better. In fact, more often creates imbalance. So if you've got a cabinet full of pills and powders yet still feel tired, foggy, or unwell, maybe the problem isn't what you're missing. Maybe it's what you're overloading. And that brings us to the bigger question. If vitamins can sometimes harm while food and lifestyle can heal, what's the smartest way to protect your brain from aging, stroke, and memory decline, without adding another pill? The answer is simpler and more powerful than you might expect. Awareness, not fear, is your best medicine. If you followed along, you now know something that many people never realize. Supplements we often take with the best intentions can backfire, especially after age 60. Products marketed as natural, heart-healthy, or immune-boosting are not always harmless when combined with age, medications, or health conditions. This isn't about fear. It's about empowerment. You've learned how 9 common vitamins, D, E, B6, A, niacin, K, folic acid, C, and magnesium, in the wrong amounts or combinations can quietly raise your risk of stroke, nerve damage, high blood pressure, kidney strain, or even dementia-like symptoms. These are not rare cases. They're real. I've seen them in people just like you, thoughtful, proactive, well-meaning, but missing the full picture. So the takeaway isn't to throw out every supplement in your home. It's to pause, reevaluate, and make choices with knowledge instead of marketing promises. Supplements can be helpful, but only when based on lab results, doctor oversight, and a clear purpose. Your body at 65, 75, or 85 isn't the same as it was at 35. It processes vitamins differently, reacts more sensitively, and small imbalances can trigger major consequences. That's why the smartest move isn't chasing a super pill. It's focusing on what the human body has always thrived on. Real food, the real rest, with real movement, come on real. See, members, protect your brain by staying hydrated, moving regularly, and staying connected socially and mentally. And most importantly, always talk to your doctor before starting, stopping, or mixing any supplement. You have far more control than you realize, not by adding more, but by doing less, more wisely. And if you're asking yourself, what does a truly brain-healthy day look like at my age? From breakfast to bedtime. We'll walk through that together. Because it's never too late to build not just a longer life, but a sharper, stronger, and better one. These lessons are here to inspire you to live fully and confidently. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you'll start applying in your own life? Share it in the comments. Let's support each other on this journey. If you found this helpful, leave a 1. If not, leave a 0. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more practical health wisdom. Here's to living life on your own terms.